Exodus chapter 17, introduction. Yeah, I think the mosquitoes are having kind of a field day here. Right? In this chapter, we see how the people were led in stages to a different place where there was no water. Right now, I guess like with me walking in here, and then the mosquitoes had no blood to drink, and now I'm here, and now they're like, yeah, got some blood. Okay, so these people got to the next place where there was no blood. Sorry, no water. Right? There was no water to drink. So, what's going to happen? They're going to groan again. They're going to be unhappy again about everything that is going on and not going on. So, yes, that is ultimately, and then they're going to groan against Moses again. And what is God going to do? Is God going to say, man, you guys have grown so much now? They were, when I started the miracles there in Egypt, you were not happy. When I led you out to the sea, you were not happy. When you had no bread, you were not happy. When the water was bitter, you were not happy. You're always kind of not happy, always groaning. And groaning against Moses, but ultimately groaning against me. So what's God going to do this time? And this is then ultimately what God came around and, well, He did provide for them again. He told Moses to hit the rock. Okay. Later on we're going to see how God's going to tell Moses not to hit the rock. He already told him to hit the rock. Water came out and the people got water. Again, God provided when they didn't. Then the next problem arose, a war. The people of Amalek came out to fight. Were there any reason for them to fight? Well, maybe it's like they thought. If we fight them when they are just out of Egypt, they're not settled as a nation, they're not settled as a attacking force. They have lots of soldiers, but maybe they're not as well trained, so we can maybe defeat them now better than trying later when they are better prepared, better trained. Whatever the reason, they fought against them. God, through Moses, gave him a kind of a solution to this. But Moses will go up to the hill, while his hands up in the air, fighting continues. As long as the hands in the air, they will win. Aaron, Hur went with him. And so after a while, yes, sure, if you stand like this with a staff, a rod in your hand, you know, he's going to get, your hands can't like be, especially at the 80-year-old guy. So he got tired. Well, they put a rock on him. He sat down. And then after that, this tiredness, then his hands ultimately started getting tired. So they held up his hands. As long as his hands were held up, they would win in the war. And when he could let it down, then the Amalekites would win. Ultimately, with Aaron and Hur holding up his hands, the Israelites now their first war won actually in the end the battle. And then yes, there was this whole saying of God in the end concerning Amalek and their destruction. And yes, we will during the teaching look at that. But it is supposed to be a sign to Joshua that ultimately God, because Joshua is going to be the leader that follow up. Joshua is going to be one of the spies going on. Joshua is going to play a very important role. And remember, Joshua is the same Hebrew word for Jesus. And so yeah, it's important for him as signs ultimately to be reminded, and especially when they're going to get and fight against Amalekites later on again. And yes, so God gave them the victory, so God gave them water, God gave them victory. They neither deserved the water nor the victory. I mean, God could have left them just lose the battle, because they deserved to lose the battle. But God, and I mean, God would not have been guilty, because the Amalekites were the ones attacking them. And the Amalekites were killing them, not God. God didn't force Amalekites to do this. They were just doing it. But ultimately, God's going to protect them. God's going to give them victory. And that is the beauty of it all, is that God, even though they didn't deserve it, again, we see God's grace at work. Our hostess here just brought some stuff here to burn, not incense for the gods, but stuff to burn so the mosquitoes will kind of stay away. And I think it's kind of working. The stuff burning is a bit like Moses. While it's burning, the mosquitoes are staying away, and I can teach. But when it stops burning, then the mosquitoes comes and they kind of lose and they drink some more blood. Fitting me for this whole Moses and Aaron her holding up his hands and victory over the Amalekites.